and welcome to our webinar, AI and Quantum Endgame, Can Humans Win? Hosted by Global Alliance on Sustainability and AI, GASAI. My name is Helen Teplitskaia. I'm a founder and president of GASAI, and today I'm delighted to co-host our webinar with a dear friend, a founder of AI for All, director of GASAI Technical Education, Testi. I'm really honored to introduce our keynote speaker, Steve Suarez, the CEO of HorizonX, senior advisor to McKinsey and Company, lecturer at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and author of a very interesting book, The Cost of Starting Up. Steve, it was a great pleasure to meet you in Dubai JITEX. You really starred on the agenda. The floor is yours. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and hello, everybody. I'm calling in from Dubai. It's late, and I know that people are all around the world. Yeah, as Helen mentioned, I've been focusing on quantum. I was at HSBC for 20 years, and now I'm a recovering banker, and I'm really focused on helping organizations understand and navigate through quantum. I think it's very interesting right now. There's a lot of focus on quantum, and people are probably asking, why is everybody talking about it? Well, one of the things that we put out is a report from McKinsey, and if you haven't read it, take a look at it. It's called the Technology Monitor. And what McKinsey is saying, or pretty much what we're saying, is that quantum will deliver about $2 trillion of value between now and 2035. And just so you know, there's another report coming out, and we're expecting that number to go up. And there's a lot of companies that now are being valued in the billions. You guys have heard of companies like IonQ, Quantinuum, PsiQuantum, Quer Computing, that's a private company. But then you have the big players like IBM and Google that are also engaging in quantum. And what I wanted to do is just briefly talk a little bit about quantum, keep it very short, and more importantly, see what questions you guys have and what I can answer in quantum. But just at a high level, there is this intersection between quantum and AI. And right now, at this point, from my perspective, AI is helping quantum. Why? Because quantum still isn't 100% without errors. It has a lot of high errors. And what AI can do is can help it predict where those errors are and can make computation much better. It could look at circuit designs. There's a lot of ways where we can apply AI to quantum to really help it out in the beginning. The hope is that afterwards, after quantum really matures and it becomes a fault-tolerant technology, that quantum will help AI. But that's down in the future. I won't be talking about that right now. But at a high level, quantum is really broken out between quantum computing, quantum communications, and I'll talk a little bit more about quantum communications, and then quantum sensing. And that's more on using quantum mechanics to measure things. And I'm working with a large oil and gas company now to help them come up with their quantum sensing strategy. So when you think about quantum technologies, I don't want you to just think about compute. I want you to think about communications and sensing. I'll get into the communication side here in just a bit. But there's a lot of opportunity. So when you think about quantum, very specific use cases, think about simulation or optimization. Those are the areas where we believe that quantum computing will have a significant impact. Quadratic or even exponential speed ups in computation, which is what makes things very exciting when you look at financial modeling, when you look at drug discovery, when you look at new batteries, new technologies. and all of that. And so with this benefit also becomes the risks. And now that these computers are getting stronger, it also provides a threat to cryptography. And I don't know if anybody on this call has heard, but there's a professor out of MIT. He's actually part of one of the courses that I provide at MIT. His name's Peter Shor. And Peter Shor came up with Shor's algorithm. And
Yeah.
his algorithm has the ability, with a strong enough quantum computer, to break RSA and elliptical cryptography. And so these are things that now we're starting to look to make sure that we can protect against, and make sure that we look at how we take this technology not only for this opportunity, but make sure we're protecting against the threat that it brings, which is it's called PQC, post-quantum cryptography. Again, I wanted to keep this short. I've just laid out a whole bunch of stuff for you guys to kind of stew and ask questions about. But I'd love to answer any questions. Or Helen, I don't know how you want to run this, but I'll bring it back to you and Tom, and we can jump into whatever you want to cover.
Thank you. I first would defer to the audience, and Tom, if you see any raised hands, we will plug in our participants to ask questions. Questions, anybody to Steve?
Right now, I'm not seeing any raised hands, but if anybody wants to talk, the raised hand is down there by the little heart-shaped item in the bottom bar of the meeting.
So not to waste time, actually, Steve, how did you become interested in quantum? You were in banking, and then we see you now as one of the main quantum and AI ambassadors, globally known, really highly popular. But what really triggered your interest in quantum, and how did you become such an expert in a relatively short time? Because we all need to learn, upskill basically on the fly. So how can we do it?
Well, and thanks for that plug, because I'm going to plug a lot of my classes and the courses at MIT. While I was at HSBC, Google wrote a paper that went into Nature magazine, and the name of the title was Quantum Supremacy. And in that, it talked about how encryption was going to destroy financial institutions, or could threaten financial institutions. And I was asked to speak to a lot of boards about quantum and what quantum can do. At that point, my title was head of innovation, but I had no clue what quantum was about and how it was going to impact. And all of a sudden, we were also asked to speak on a French television station about quantum. My head of quantum, I asked him, please go ahead and speak on behalf. But he went to CERN, very smart person, but he hated public speaking. And so he said, I can't do it. And if you make me do it, I'll quit. And I didn't want him to quit, and I didn't want him to go anywhere. And so I said, okay, what can we do? And he was like, I'm going to train you to get onto TV and talk about quantum. And I'm like, are you serious? You want me to talk about quantum? And so, yes, he trained me up. I talked about quantum, and I thought, okay, this is it. I don't have to talk quantum anymore. And then all of a sudden, Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, everybody reached out because they're like, I love what you said. I agree. I'd like to interview you more. And at that point, I was just like, okay, I'm not a fake it till you make it person. So I went back to school. So I registered at MIT. They had 4 courses where you kind of jump into the rabbit hole to understand quantum. And I went through that. As I started understanding the technology, I fell in love with the technology. I realized the impact that it's going to have for us, our planet, and all the industries. And I knew this was going to be the future. And so this is why I positioned myself there. I started learning. I came back to the bank. I came up with a strategy for quantum. MIT loved the strategy. They said, hey, can you come and teach that at the school? And so the student then became the teacher. And so now I have a course called Quantum Computing Strategy and Impact based out of MIT. And the whole strategy section is my section where I talk about that. And so if anybody wants to do it, use HorizonX, all caps, and you get a really good discount. But that's my plug. So sorry, Helen, that's a long way to explain how I fell into the quantum realm.
Completely with you, because this is how I ended up teaching at Kellogg at Northwestern University. Exactly the same way. I'm not going to venture into details right now, but my heart goes out to you because this is exactly what I went through, being thrown into hot water, having to improvise, and this fairy tales about the naked king, when you have to, when you pretend knowing something and you really feel naked. And that's how I ended up getting my MBA investment banking and finance, because when I had to advise my corporate clients, the likes of CEOs and very senior members of the executive team, I at times felt that I really lack knowledge beyond my battle-hardened experience. So thank you, Steve.
I see that
Other questions?
Deepak has a question.
Yes.
Excellent. Hey, Deepak, I see you shaking your head when I'm talking. So I think you're agreeing to everything or understand everything I'm talking about.
Okay,
There you
so
go.
now I can say, yeah, so I'm a quantum physicist by training. And so in a sense, I understand. And in 90s, I myself look at Shor's algorithm. So in a sense, agreeing to, so that's why I could shake my head up and down. But right now I'm more into on the AI side. That's why I was asked here. I'm more on neuromorphic, really low power, low latency AI. But that will come later if I get a chance. But then my question is this, which is what, so during COVID days, and my friend said, I have a good background again from NASA and innovation background. So when I do startups, my thing is, so I have to build around that, right? So in about 2022, this is the story, that they said, optical, neuromorphic, and quantum would be the three next thing. I'm talking about 21, 22, right? And then you pick up, I was looking for my next challenge or next something where I'm getting old, so which I can pick up the passion and really push my angle, right? That's what we are driven by. So I did some due diligence details on quantum and optical, and I settled on neuromorphic because of, again, certain potential, and we'll talk in the AI section, probably even. But my question to you, and so when I was looking at it, because I have to survive through a startup business, so I always look for the potential to commercialize anything, service or product, right? Because you have to still, at the end of the day, make a business, even though I'm a hardcore technologist, right? So having given the background, my natural question is, you laid out three, which is good, and which is what I think is true: computing and communication and sensing. So even now, when they are big guys and everyone talk about quantum is the next thing. So which one would be the first to really give some, then I can start looking into that field. Will it be sensing or communication or the computing?
Without a shadow of a doubt, it's going to be quantum communication.
Communication, I see.
It's going to be communication.
And that's because of progress in the optical side, that you can do the optical waveguides and all those stuff and do some quantum like entanglement.
I think that's part of it, but it's more security and it's more cybersecurity.
Security.
Yeah,
Okay.
so think about PQC or QKD, which is quantum key distribution.
Okay.
And people, because of a concept called harvest now, decrypt later.
Yeah.
In other words, because people can send data through fiber, and that fiber, we can grab that data, and storage is so cheap that there's nation states and bad actors that are grabbing data and storing. And what happens is, yes, they might not be able to decrypt it today, but let's
I
just
see. They'll just keep it, and then
in 10 years, they'll be able to decrypt it. And some of that data won't be valuable, but some of it will. Like Deepak, if I was able to access your computer 10 years ago, I'm sure there's sensitive data that you
There could
wouldn't
be.
want us to. And so the fact that in 10 years I'll be able to see it still creates a jeopardy. So people talk about this concept of Q day, quantum day, the day that quantum will break encryption. And people are like, oh, when is that going to happen? The reality is you don't need to worry about when that's going to happen. You should be protecting yourself today, and you should be using these algorithms that the National Institute of Science and Technology has put forward. And the reason why I tell people don't worry about Q Day, and you should act now, I'll give you, Deepak, if you had the superpower of invisibility, if you could be invisible, would you go and tell everybody in the world that you're invisible? No, right? Because
No,
then
not
it
really,
defeats the
because that's the
purpose.
key. Yeah, that's the,
It
yeah,
defeats the
that
purpose.
right.
So if I have the ability to break encryption today, let's just say I'm the only one in the world that has the ability to break encryption. It is in my best interest that no one in the world finds out I can do that, because then I can do whatever I want with that technology. And so you will never find out once somebody has that technology to do it, because it's in their best interest not to let you know. And so that's why quantum communication is important to start now. There's companies like we're on Zoom. Zoom has already implemented a PQC algorithm to
I see.
protect against quantum. The iPhone, if you're using the iPhone, they've implemented PQ3. So a lot of vendors are doing it, but all organizations, to be holistically protected, needs to think about that. So that's the immediate thing. If there's something you should focus on is post-quantum
Okay.
cryptography remediation.
All
And
right.
just a hint, the United States government authority had put out a report recently, and they estimate it's going to cost them $7.1 billion, and anywhere between 10 and 20 billion, I'm sorry, 10 and 20 years to remediate it. And that's just one government, one country. So
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
We have another question from Dawn Christie. She says, I'm curious about risk mitigation and the threat detection improvements due to quantum, as we are losing the battle to bad actors using AI for more sophisticated attacks.
I would be less worried about quantum, because the reality is in AI we all have access to AI, and we all can use AI for good and for bad. In quantum, the reality is the companies that are going to have the access are very small, and so unless you have state actors take over those computers, um, it's going to be limited. So not everybody will have access to quantum and be able to leverage quantum, which actually makes it even more of a digital divide, because if only certain countries or certain companies have access to quantum and can use that technology, that's going to give these companies or these countries a large unfair advantage, because the compute power will be so much more powerful than what they have today. So I would be more worried about that divide than I would be on how do I use quantum um, to create bad, to get some bad actors to get in. I agree, AI is getting more sophisticated, and that's causing a lot of things with deep fakes, like what happened at Jaguar and M&S and stuff like that.
Could I follow up on that?
Please,
Can you hear me?
because
Well,
I
the
see
reason I
cybers in
asked,
your title,
there,
so
there's a lot of there's not a lot of literature, but there's a lot of chatter right now, especially on LinkedIn, that quantum's going to be the be all and end all for cybersecurity risks. And so I
yeah.
think there's this sort of lane that's developing of misunderstanding, which is why I asked the question, because it's one to fight the AI based cyber attacks, but it's another to think that quantum will come along in 10 years and, you know, be the golden solution to all of this. And it sounds like that's certainly not the case by what you're saying.
Well, if you think about all the cyber attacks and you look at Jaguar, you look at M&S, that has nothing to do with the actual technology or the encryption. It has to do with engineering and human engineering and author breaking into people and even some bad actors. And it doesn't matter how good your technology is, you're not going to be able to stop that type of access. Now, quantum key distribution is a very strong technology that will help out, but that's still far down the road. And so PQC is where the mathematicians look to protect you, and they're using algorithms to protect you. QKD, which is quantum key distribution, uses quantum mechanics to protect, and that's where it uses hardware, and it is a different way. But I think I would say we're still far away from having any production ready. But it is a superior security device, but we're not there yet.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Oh, Joe. Tom, would you like to
Okay.
read the question from Joe
Yes.
Radix?
I can go ahead and do it. One of the things I've been looking at for years now, El Capitan is online, and that's the exascale with Lawrence Livermore. Now, the balance between quantum and exascale is important because I believe there's going to be an enormous transition, or what I call the integration capability. But my question is, what do you feel, quantum, whether it's a needle or whatever, brings to the supercomputer environment, especially the El Capitan level? Thanks.
Yeah, I think so there's a misconception that quantum will take over classical. There's things that classical will always do better than quantum computing. And so quantum computing is going to be very finite jobs that we're going to send to the quantum computer. So imagine we're dealing with our computer here, we're dealing with classical data. We're going to be sending data to where the best place to process those jobs. And quantum is a very narrow section of problems that quantum will be able to solve. So what it's probably going to happen is that we're all going to be dealing on hybrid systems on cloud. We're going to let classical computers do what they do best. We're probably going to send small jobs that can get done on a quantum computer come back. And because there's small or short coherence times on quantum computers, it'll just do the job, come back, and it'll still get processed classically, and it'll still have to be displayed classically. So I think there's going to be a very good interaction between quantum and classical computers, and those supercomputers are always going to be around, and I would say we're going to leverage them more, but they'll never go away. If that answers the question, Joe.
It does.
Got
Can I do a
another
quick?
question from Christopher Turk, Tom. Oh, Joe, you had a comment? Sorry.
Yes. Okay, real quick. Steve, I agree with you 100%, but I like the idea of the supercomputers, for example, interfacing with perhaps the more upgraded quantum sensors. Okay. The theory there with me is to offload a lot of processing so data centers could do simulation and aggregation, but they don't do the visualization, which is more, latency intensive per se. I'm looking at military perspective, say tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 operators where instantaneous information is going to be very important. So
Yeah.
Sensors offloading, what do you think about sensors as far as in the mix with sensors under classical and integrated with quantum? Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That'll be key. If you're looking for real-time type data and processing, quantum won't be able to help you out because quantum isn't going to have that real-time connection. And so I think it's going to be that integration with both supercomputing and quantum where you're going to have your really big gains, and that'll continue on. There are systems right now called quantum inspired where they're simulating quantum, and you're able to run those algorithms, but on simulations, which actually helps build that muscle memory for companies to understand how to code, because coding and all of this is very different. So it sounds like you're very knowledgeable in this space, and it's a key way to really learn. The only way to really learn about quantum is to get out there, play with it, and experiment.
Peter Turk, did you have, or Christopher Turk, did
Christopher.
you have a question? Christopher?
Christopher disappeared.
Oh.
Let's move on. I know that Christopher signed for the open mic, so he will have a chance to ask the question. And if Steve will be gone because he have to rush to the airport, we'll handle the question later on the individual basis. So, any more questions to Steve? Steve, thank you so very much. We really, really appreciate it. As always, it's so exciting, entertaining. You're really a great ambassador for quantum. And we're immensely fortunate to have you, and we look forward to having you join our other events. Dawn, you had a question or just, yeah. Thank you so much, Steve.
I'll be around probably for the next 20, 15
Fantastic.
minutes. Yeah, I've got my
Maybe
son's.
Christopher Turk will resurface.
Yeah,
I just wanted to say thank you, Steve. That was all.
yeah, no problem.
Very
Dawn.
informative. Thank you.
Just and obviously we have short time, but yeah, if you guys want to learn more, I'm happy to. It's funny because my son he's flying in from Philadelphia, and he gets to Dubai at midnight, so I gotta go jump in the car and go pick him up. So that's why I have to cut this short on my side. But yeah, I'll stick around for another 15 minutes.
Fantastic. So, Tom, would you like to introduce? I think we should, Harvey, can you please share with us if you are rushed to you, because you are in the ER most of your time. So if you're rushed, please tell us and we'll move you kind of higher on the agenda in sense of, not having you. But if you can join us for the duration of the whole event, it will be fabulous. So what's your situation?
Yeah, how long's the whole event?
It's an hour and a half, actually.
Yeah. No, that I'll stick around. I'll stick
Okay,
around.
fantastic. Then, since questions to Shantanu and Neema, we would like maybe to take a step back and kind of be a little bit more general in our agenda. And I would like to say a few words actually why I came up with this idea to think about the end game. I was so, I would say, flabbergasted. Last month, I was at the Atomic Bulletin Board dinner, and they were talking about the nuclear threat and the difference with which nuclear threat is handled, the attention to detail, the existing protocols are so exponentially more efficient. And let's say, as of now, just simply in place. And there is basically nothing pertaining to AI. No serious guardrails. The developers are just rushing, trying to win, to me, this rat race. And the answers to questions about ethics and safety, as I hear them, are like, oh, we will figure it out later. We will figure it out as we go. But as one of the, some call it just godfather of AI, and maybe at least one of the godfathers of AI, Jeffrey Hinton, says the following. If you think of the difference between chemical and nuclear weapons, AI could be like that difference. It could be the thing that makes the difference between killing tens of millions and killing billions. And what do we do about it at scale? I'm afraid nothing. So today, I know that we are not going to be able to solve this problem, but at least we can put it on the agenda because we all need to engage, and our politicians need to pay greater attention to it. We cannot copycat what has been done to handle nuclear threats and nuclear proliferation, but we need to handle AI at least with the same level of caution, if not greater. I'm not suggesting to stifle the innovation, but I think we need to demand, the developers to actually do it in a responsible way. Because if God forbid something happens, we all will go. Developers will not be spared, and our AI oligarchs will share our destiny. So I would like to now turn the floor to Shantanu Neema. Shantanu, can you please, why we actually organized the event? And the questions to you, like, for example, what educational reforms and upskilling strategies are actually effective in an AI-driven economy? And how do we prevent large-scale de-skilling while still leveraging AI for productivity and learning? Because what happens today, people are losing jobs. We keep hearing about this magical creation of new jobs thanks to new technologies like AI, like quantum. But when I hear the AI oligarchs pontificate about the universal basic income, like we all are supposed to sit and wait for the handouts of, I don't know what kind of generosity they will display, but they are heavily investing into entertainment industry, because actually when we all will have nothing to do, we'll have to turn maybe to games, to all kinds of entertainment. So Shantanu, what do you think about what we can do basically on the immediate basis? And please
So,
introduce yourself, because I didn't have the privilege to meet you in person. I know you are with the World Bank, but please say a few words about yourself and kind of walk us in to the issue, because I know that it really is very close to you.
yeah. So let me introduce myself. I'm a practicing data scientist from last over a decade practically, and I worked in beds of industries, manufacturing, real estate, healthcare. Last 3 4 years, I'm in finance. I'm more in the banking sectors and where this where the regulations and things come in place, right? So that's my experience. I am a lead data scientist in World Bank, and currently I am using Gen AI to generate their internal systems. There are a lot of tools they are building. Actually, World Bank has a very good mission. They want to help the world, right? They basically fund third world countries and they make them more productive that way. So the one of the key thing I think in like there are couple of things, right? One of the thing, if human use AI too much, it makes them productive, no doubt about it. There are Stanford studies which makes programmer, depending on what they are doing, it can make them 25% to like 200 300% more productive. uh, for me, I am 3 times more productive than before in person because I'm using it for a long time. And for me, like using AI is very, very advantageous. But I would say if there is a programmer who is very junior, there is a problem. Okay, because they blindly use it. Okay, they just throw the dart in the air. And I think there is a bigger problem. I think de-skilling and the cognitive decline is also one of the problem. If any one of you have seen a movie called Idiocracy, it talks about 2500, year 2500, when everyone is stupid because you get answer very quickly. Our brain doesn't do any kind of productive struggle, right? So that's one of the disadvantage. I mean, losing job is one thing, but using your like sanity is another thing, right? So both can go together. That is one of the risk I'm seeing. A lot of that is in education sector. I don't know, you have seen a lot of this maybe reels or something where people are using ChatGPT to complete their degrees, right? And that's becoming very, very easy. I mean, to be honest, it's very easy to pass the exam or like throw assignments to
Not
ChatGPT and
in a
solve
room
it.
exam. I remember when I was at Kellogg and
Mhm.
I had to take in-class exams. I mean, we were
In
not
class,
allowed to
no,
use
but
even textbooks, but how can you use this GPT like for chit chat? I think it's like against
in
the code of
assignments, in
ethics.
interviews, it's happening everywhere. I interview people, I see them using it on and off. I think teachers will figure out. They will find a way to assess people. That's not a hard problem to solve. I think, but a lot has to change here. Okay, that is one thing I think. Another one is like loss of jobs will happen. What I'm seeing, the tasks are being replaced by AI, not like actual job, but the amount of people who have to do complete those tasks are getting reduced a lot. Even in World Bank, we don't hire as much as we used to.
Yeah,
That's a big impact.
thank you.
So
Tom,
to
I know
prepare
you
for
had a
it,
question. Sorry.
yeah, please.
I'm just trying to watch the time and for all our future, speakers later on the agenda. I'm sorry if I have to interrupt, but we have a very congested agenda and really brilliant lineup of speakers. Tom, I know that you had a question
Yeah, as
about
AI
AI
capabilities,
capabilities, right?
pardon?
About AI capabilities in
Yeah.
26.
Yeah, as AI capabilities accelerate in 2026, what risks emerge when deployment outpaces governance? And where have you seen an absence of human oversight create real world failure modes?
Most of these AI projects have a very big risk of not things are becoming automated, right? So examination of the outcomes are not happening at the fast pace. So what I have seen is it's very easy to omit casual errors generated by AI, especially the hallucination problem. They don't work very good with the numbers, right?
Hmm.
So enforcing lot of checkpoints using human is very, very important there. That is one of the biggest risks I see in as the use of AI grows in the economy and in the companies, in the big enterprises especially. And I think that will create a different set of jobs also, which will be more like on the judgment and responsibility level instead of developing and building things up, right? That will be, I mean, there is some job creation also on that side.
So far, I'm afraid the job creation is falling behind the job losses.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and I think this interval is becoming wider and wider. I mean, it's really scary. We'll talk about it later today, and I know that all speakers are pretty much concerned with the same issue. And I listened to a lot of podcasts with participation from the above mentioned oligarchs, and when they are asked about what are they telling their children, how to prepare, where to focus, where to concentrate. I have not heard one single succinct answer. There is no clarity. We'll talk about it later today, but as of now, I really don't believe that the answer, that we all want to hear actually exists. And to close with your part, at least initially right now, Shantanu, like in practical terms, how should individuals and organizations prepare for AI-driven job transformation? And, distinguishing between the roles that will disappear, roles that will evolve, and new roles to be created. Because what we observe right now is people are being fired by the thousands, particularly the ones who don't know how to use AI, AI is not replacing them. They're being replaced by people who know how to use AI. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that is true, but that is partly tough. Like firing by 1,000, I think it's exaggeration because there were
No,
a lot of
I think I said
overhiring.
tens. I don't believe I said hundreds. And if
Yeah,
I did, I apologize, but tens of thousands for
yeah.
sure. I know Microsoft alone fired about like 9,000 people just this summer, and I think this trend continues, particularly with Amazon, with McKinsey, since Steve is here.
Oracle is also there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, there are two reasons of like layoffs. I myself got laid off twice in this last 2 3 years, once in 23 and once in
So
25,
how
and
can
it was
people
never.
prepare to get a new job in practical
That's what I
terms?
did. Yeah. So I just reskill myself. So reskilling is the best way to prepare for your new job. How to use AI is one of the big thing. But some of the jobs which require a repetitive task, I think those tasks are taken away by AI very soon. That's like impossible. There is no way going back. Uh, and I think the scope of jobs for people will be centered around like framing the problem, system design, the judgment and responsibility which I talked about earlier, and ability to reason, those kind of things. Because Yen LeCun always says that the amount of 20 trillion uh, bytes of data AI models have these days, that is for a 4-year-old kid. So it's only language basis, right? There are a lot of things other than language where jobs are there, right? And so we have to widen the scope that way, not limited only to the technology jobs.
Any more questions to Shantanu?
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
thank you so much. I will then turn the floor to amazing Harvey Castro. He is the ER physician, Chief AI Officer of Phantom Space, AI and Space Futurist, and TEDx speaker, advisor to the Singapore Ministry of Health, author of ChatGPT and Healthcare. And as I mentioned, for those of you who were not with us at the beginning of the event, yesterday Harvey hit 50,000 followers on LinkedIn. A true star, an influencer. I don't like this word per se, but I would rather say ambassador of AI, and all kinds of applications. Particularly, we're interested in talking to you about healthcare. Unfortunately, at times it's often too late it's never too late, but it's later rather than sooner that we pay attention to our health. And health is really at core. We hear about Midas touch, but what is Midas touch? You have all the money in the world and you just touch everything, it turns into gold, but you cannot drink it, you cannot eat it. You basically die when everything around you turns into gold. And that's what I'm afraid is happening with this uncontrolled development of AI without, taking a pause and analyzing the risks and make sure we can switch it off.
Yeah.
So, Harvey, this new social contract for work, meaning and care, I mean, is this something that could be a solution? Like if AI and quantum collapse, entire job categories faster than societies can retrain, especially in healthcare, education, and knowledge work, do we need a new social contract? And what roles should clinicians, technologists, and educators play in defining meaningful human work rather than just replacement? Because I personally cannot imagine sitting like idle doing nothing. What are we all gonna do? Please share your thoughts.
Yeah, well, first of all, what an honor. I look at this panel and just great to meet everybody here. So thank you for the opportunity. And so to answer, just to give you a quick background, I'm an emergency room doctor for 20 years, and I've seen healthcare change so much. And now with AI, I want to brag a tad and say, in the year 22, I wrote the first book. How do we use ChatGPT in healthcare and how can we move forward? And I want to preface by saying we need to end reactive medicine, meaning most of us will not go to a doctor until something's wrong. With that said, females are more likely to go to the doctor and males tend to not want to go to the doctor. With that said, we often catch diseases way too late, meaning most of the time, by the time you come into the emergency room, I'm the bearer of bad news where I'm saying, I'm sorry, you have cancer. I'm sorry, you have this or that. And so I want to shift the way we think and now say, let's end reactive medicine and let's start proactive medicine, meaning, what if my voice today, and we had the AI algorithm, and this exists, to say, you know what, Dr. Castro, you're a pre-diabetic. Did you know that? Just with your voice, not a blood test, we're hearing it. Or with the visual feed. What does that mean? Well, guess what? If I find out that I'm a pre-diabetic, then I have a chance to make sure that my disease doesn't progress to become diabetes. And if it becomes diabetes, we know that my lifespan will shorten and the quality will go down. Meaning I may start having heart attacks, I may have strokes, I may get my leg amputated. But what if we catch it early? And so with this quantum AI and moving forward, why not create that? And so what will happen to the workforce? Well, two things. It will shift. It's not that today I'm doing X, it's because of technology, now I'll be doing Y. In other words, if I became a doctor and back then it was Dr. Google and I didn't change my ways, I would be obsolete. Nobody would want to talk to me. Nobody would want me to be their doctor. So I had to learn how to pivot. I had to learn how to change. And so what's going to happen in the future? It's going to be the demand of us patients. We're going to demand more from our healthcare. We are going to want what the rest of the world has. And why do I go there? Because I truly see the huge jumps in AI healthcare will be first seen outside of the US before we see it in the US. And why do I say that? There's a lot of political issues. One simple science of it is our electronic medical record. If I need data from everyone here and you came in the middle of the night, chances are I may not be able to get that information. Chances are my AMR doesn't talk to yours, it's 2 a.m. And if it does, I may not be able to get all the information when I need it right now. And as a result, what am I going to have to do? I'm going to have to order those same tests that you just had done somewhere else. I'm going to increase the cost. But from an AI point of view, if I'm running a country and all the medical records for the entire country is here, now I have that database. Second, I'm an advisor for the country of Singapore, and they're working on making sure that they have the genome of every single person, the retinal scan. And why do I go there? Because if we have the database of the electronic medical record, we have their retinal scans, we have their genomes, guess what? If I'm leveraging AI, it's able to analyze all that information. And now they have a program for patients that have high cholesterol, the skinny is this, they will notify these children, these young adults to say, hey, 10 years, 20 years from now, you will have a heart attack. So we need you to start checking your blood. We need you to start this intervention. And where's all this going to go? Again, through quantum computers and stuff like that, we will have the technology of CRISPR, meaning I could get a shot to correct my gene so it doesn't express that bad cholesterol. So in the future, my grandkids will not have it. And so in summary, will we lose a job? I tell my colleagues, no, we're not going to lose a job today. We're just going to shift the way I do my work. We're going to do things differently. Second, will eventually my job be obsolete? Yes, the shift will shift so much that some jobs will have to be recreated or redefined or changed. But this is I call it the bad news. The children that are being born today, one day, they're used to their computers, they're used to using AI. They've never heard of anything but AI. They will trust the computers. They will see things differently. The IQ of the computer will be higher, i.e. the AI and quantum computers. And when they are in charge, they will create a shift, a great shift to the point where they'll be like, you know what, these jobs are obsolete. We don't need them, the AI.
This is fascinating, a little scary, but exciting at the same time because I can share. I now use AI and usually more than one. I like Grok and go to GPT at times, but I recently selected a doctor who really is the best in the field, and I would have never been able to do it without AI. And I actually demanded for a test to be run because there are special circumstances that you can enter into the program as patients and see if the attention you are getting is substantial because doctors are incredibly busy. They have thousands of patients, and it's our own responsibility now not to intervene, not to obstruct what doctors are trying to do, but help them. I used to teach information management at the University of Illinois in Chicago and introduced evidence-based medicine into curriculum. So proactive rather than curative have been my motto in the early 90s when I introduced evidence EBM, as we called it, so that students and faculty equally understand how important it is to continue their education, to continue, getting information pertinent to each and every patient, because otherwise this treatment is inefficient. And now with AI and amplified with quantum, there are new drugs, new vaccines, and we can be more preventive, but we have to work in a team with the doctors. So, Tom, do you have a question for Harvey?
Yeah. If AI and quantum collapse entire job categories faster than societies can retrain, especially in care, education, knowledge work, do we need
we just discussed it, but maybe there is something else. The very same
Yeah, I
question.
mean, what roles should clinicians, technologists, and educators play in defining meaningful human work rather than just replacement?
Yeah, that's a good one. I like to take healthcare and put it a little bit on a different scale because everyone on this call, I'm looking, we're all older, and I have a hard time believing if I had a robot in here to tell you that you had cancer, that you'd be fine with that. You'd be like, no, I want that human touch. I want that personality. I want that person that I trust. I trust Dr. Castro. I don't know about this AI. It could be hallucinating. And so for that, I truly think in healthcare, that job security is there. Let AI do the minutia, the repetitive work, the things that I don't, to analyze gobs of data. Example, if I have your genetic genome of everything, of all your information, there's no way on earth I know every gene and how it interacts. There's no way. I know my limits. But AI can outline and say, wait, these new genes were just discovered. This person happens to have this gene and it was just discovered today, and you better call Mr. Smith today to tell him. And so because of the empathy, because of the vast, it's just a matter of retooling and learning how to do the tools. Education, I agree. Can we replace that human? I think it's more of we're the orchestrator. We have clinical years of Gestalt. We have experience in teaching. That combined with AI, putting the tools together, that will leverage to have that job security. Now, again, will some people lose their jobs? Yes, it's a shift, but it'll be a different way of learning. And you guys already said it. Those that know how to use these tools will exceed those that don't. I want to bring in this other law. It's called the law of Martech. Basically, it's this.
Can you please repeat?
MARTEC, Martech's law. And the skinny is this. AI is exponential. So think of a straight line. Everybody on this call where we work, the organizations we represent are logarithmic. Think of a straight line. Some are more progressive than others, so then those lines are closer to the exponential. What the law says is that when technology increases more than our tradition is changing, it creates a bigger gap, right? Because we're not changing. And when that gap happens, a revolution, something happens, a disruption, and that's what we're seeing right now. And so where does everybody on this call stand? It depends. If you are closer to the exponential curve, you're more likely to take over people under you, organizations, job security, all that. And then what will happen then is companies that are more progressive are going to take over the less progressive ones. Case in point. And so again, to this question, what's going to happen? It's called the Great Shift. That's how I see it.
It's
That's
fascinating.
yeah, that's very interesting. But we've always had these problems with jobs and technology. I mean, when computers first came out, typewriter salesmen were like, "What?" And now look where they are. So,
Yes. Good question.
Harvey, if there is anything you would like to add to what you just covered, something we did not address in our questions, Tom and I.
No, my favorite phrase is we don't know what we don't know, right? And this is why we're here as a collective village. We're all learning from each other. And it's important to continue to increase our level of understanding of AI and quantum computers, because if we don't, someone else will. And the other part of this is eventually the AI is going to be 10 times better than us. And the sad part is no single most important human being, most powerful or smartness is going to be able to know if the AI is hallucinating or not. And when that happens, that's going to be another issue just to kind of plan and think about.
Thank you. Orlagh, are you with us? Orlagh?
Hi. Hey, everybody.
Great to see you, Orlagh. Orlagh was so helpful in organizing this event. It's thanks to her that we were able to invite our keynote, Steve Suarez, and I hope that everyone really enjoyed his keynote remarks. And Orlagh, who I never met in person, became like a dear friend through participation in our events since when she was still with Microsoft. And I don't think Microsoft will ever regain the treasure that they lost in Orlagh and Sara Nagy, who parted with Microsoft in July, but each found their new paths. And I'm so excited to introduce Orlagh, who used to be one of the key advocates for quantum and AI at Microsoft, but then completely reinvented herself and creating this amazing ORB network and quantum links where ORB network, I think Orlagh will say a few words. Is it true that it's primarily for women now, or are men already allowed?
It's just for women for now.
We have to change it, Orlagh. We have to change it. And then quantum links. I really have never heard of anybody coming up with the idea to educate about quantum using golf principles and tricks. I don't play golf, unfortunately, but it would be really fascinating to learn about how you did it. But let's start with the question that is kind of related to our agenda today. So if you what actually excites you most about AI and quantum for humanity? I talked about the risks before you were able to join us.
Okay.
I am very, 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 very concerned about the lack of guardrails. Again, I'd like to stress that I'm all for deployment of AI, but for ethical, responsible, and for the ability to actually turn off the switch if we know that AI will be on the self-preservation mode as an agent, particularly with agentic AI, and we humans will not be able to turn it off. But what excites you most of all in AI and quantum for humanity?
I'm glad that you covered the risk, Helen, because I think, before I jump into the quantum advantages, right? Like I'd love to say a few words there, but I'm glad you covered the risk because I think there is this bit of a myth out there, that quantum is not really for everybody, that we don't really need to, it's just for a select few, it's for scientists, it's for this, that, and the other. But the reality is that quantum will affect everybody for good, but then also from a risk perspective. So time to get ready is now, like regardless of whether you're in IT or not. Like as just regular, folks, I think we can ask more questions off of our government leaders, off our banks, of our healthcare, entities in terms of what they're doing to protect our data and take steps to prepare for the quantum future. So hopefully that was a great conversation with everybody.
We're talking about the so-called Q day, so we're all on the same page.
Yeah, so Q Day, it's coming. So 2030.
Not
But I think
everyone is ready even with the terms, understanding. I would argue that most of the people could care less about the Q day. They're clueless.
yeah, of course. I think, it's steps in the right direction every day. I think this year, being the UNESCO declared International Year of Quantum, really helped create more visibility and awareness, not just within the scientific and business community, but outside of it. Like I attended a lovely conference in Greece in October where it was for the general public to help educate on both the risk and the opportunities that quantum provides. But there's still a lot of work left to do. And I think the CISO community, who are so folks who are already in security roles, who are already taking steps to help protect us against AI attacks, they are deeply aware of the quantum risk. I think the problem, though, Helen, is that they're so overwhelmed, dealing with the constant AI led attacks that it's hard to create room and space to do what's necessary to prepare for the future quantum risks. But so it's those folks, that I think we need to create some more air cover from, so that top down in organizations that they're creating the space for these great security professions to do their work. But that said, like the question you asked me, like what I'm most excited about, Harvey, that was great, where you're talking about how AI is going to further healthcare and not necessarily make your role obsolete, but it's just going to shift. I mean, in the future, perhaps, I hear you. But I think what excites me most is not just that AI and quantum will make things faster, cheaper, more efficient, change roles and whatnot. It's the promise of what quantum and AI together can do as like we're talking about endgame, the Avengers endgame, that dream team to help solve some of the things that are near and dear to my heart. So, drug discovery, new drugs, like new ways in terms of we can model some climate disasters. Like Washington State right now is under siege from Mother Nature. No quantum, no AI could help, with that. It's just helping, help people deal with being displaced from their homes and whatnot. So hopefully with more investment in quantum and AI coming together, we'll be able to predict more of these and get more prepared from a human perspective for that. I think sustainability sure is going to be able to benefit. Financial optimization is going to be, great in terms of helping, really run large scale algorithms and help crunch massive amounts of data. But the things that I'm more interested are more the things that are going to solve human problems, right? So the low hanging fruit for quantum is definitely in the finance world, in terms of near term opportunity for protecting against quantum risk. But I'm more excited about those human pain points for sure. And I think, if we saw even with some of these shootings in Australia and then also, at Brown University, these technologies, they're tools, right? And tools can be used for good or bad in the wrong hands, right? And so I think we as humans, we have a role to play in educating ourselves to be able to use these tools responsibly for human good and scale them responsibly too. So hopefully there was a lot of conversation earlier around governance, ethics, responsibility as humans to use this great new technology for good versus other lesser than scenarios.
Did you have a question?
Yeah. What lessons from AI can we apply to quantum?
So thanks, Thomas. I think, Sarah and I were actually involved in the early days of scaling AI for Microsoft. I think so many lessons, but one I suppose I could share is that it's the organizations that slow down to really think about the culture and the organizational change that really are reaping the benefits from AI, right? Where they're bringing subject matter experts together with the technology experts to understand where AI can be used, and bringing the organization along, helping educate, create more transparency, create trust in an organization. And I think it's those organizations that have laid that foundation of trust for AI, that those are the organizations that will be able to embrace quantum in a better way. So I think if we can just take some of those lessons and apply them to quantum, we'll be in a better place to apply quantum responsibly with people at the core making decisions.
It's really, I would say, humbly easier said than done. Unfortunately, our voices are not heard loud enough in order to convey all of this. And even the instruments, it's kind of I sometimes have like a dual personality disorder. When, from my standpoint, for our safety, I want the data to become available, accessible to the law enforcement, to those who protect us, to make sure that criminals are being, monitored, and they could be, this kind of crimes are preventable if the tools are being responsibly used. Like face recognition, voice recognition, monitoring of the social networks. At the same time, it at times contradicts with our freedoms, and this equilibrium between our privacy laws and between our safety is a very fine line, and it's very difficult these days to really meaningfully fuse. So as a result, some crimes that are preventable actually happen, in the likes of what happened during this tragic Sunday, both in Australia and Brown University. At the same time, we feel like we are stripped naked, sometimes in the direct sense, when we have to undergo the security checks and these kinds of things. But we have to organize an event to discuss it, kind of probably at one of our upcoming events. So thank you, Orla. And I'm sorry. Yes, please go on.
I think none of us are naive here on this call today, and thank you for creating the space and the forums. And I think we just need to keep doing more of that, Helen, to create these forums for discussion. No one individual is going to help create an amazing, for good quantum and AI society. It's to the collective, it's to communities out there, right, to further the dialogue. And I think, there'll always, it's human nature, there's always, good and bad. There's always this struggle for centuries and centuries. And I think I'm more of an optimist. And I feel like I see the good in humans. I see the good in what we can do as humans together when we come together. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes strategies for us to really come together again. But I have a lot of optimism. And in terms of organizations and enterprises, there are definitely enterprises out there who have created the governance structures, the ethical and responsible approaches to AI, that are putting really a lot of emphasis on the culture that they want to build. And so it's, for any example that we have that isn't so good, we can always find an example that is good that we can then learn from.
Thank you, Orla. As always, brilliant, and about doing more of these events. From one standpoint, we really, I would say, fight to to make sure that our voices are heard. But I need greater support from all of you. I'm not asking for money here, at least for now, but we need help with organizing this. Orlagh said, organize more. You've been incredibly helpful with this one, but I'm asking for all of you to plug in and help us with the ideas on what to organize. And 𝐐𝐮𝐬, I promise I'll plug you in later. But for now, we still have Sara with us, Sara Nagy? Sara?
She had to drop off at the top of the hour.
Oh, we'll have to have her back another event. But we had a hand from 𝐿𝐿, and we had a hand from Selma. So 𝐿𝐿 was first. 𝐿𝐿, go ahead. 𝐿𝐿?
I don't know if he was just clapping or.
No, I know that 𝐿𝐿 wanted to say something. He wanted to grab a mic. And I see that he is muted. Okay.
I just unmuted
we'll
him.
do it like, huh?
Good.
𝐿𝐿, floor is yours.
Oh, sorry. I was actually clapping my hands, though. I wasn't raising my hand. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but taking this opportunity, 𝐿𝐿, who is based in Nigeria, is one of our most supportive volunteers. He, along with Tom, designs different flyers, helps us market. And if any of your companies ever needs marketing support, on a commercial basis, like all of us, needs to generate income for his family. But I give him my highest recommendations. So since we were discussing 𝐿𝐿, thank you so much. Selma,
very
are you
much.
still with us? Did we see the raised hand from Selma?
I don't believe she's.
I saw it. Maybe she left, but Joe Radix, and we had Christopher Turk. Are you still with us? Would you like to make your comments?
Okay, all right. One of the things I would like to ask, I've been looking at a technology integration. I call it a quantum inline memory. It's an optimization capability between classical and quantum. Now it's at chip level, and I'm looking at it as a way to enhance the security posture too, whether random number generator capability or whatever. Now, question would be, are there anyone on the call looking at optimization between quantum and classical? I guess that might be an open-ended question, but earlier I talked about 𝐿 because years ago, one of the major problems the National Nuclear Security Administration had was that processors were much faster than memory. In other words, that was a bottleneck, and supercomputers like 𝐿 and things like that needed a modernization on the memory side. So question would be, what are your thoughts on computational memory and using inline quantum memory as an optimizer between classical and quantum computing? That's my question. Thanks.
Anybody who wants to answer?
Joe, I think it's a good question. Unfortunately, I'm not technical enough to be able to guide an answer on that. But it's probably like, I wonder if there's anybody in the community that's participating that might be able to address. I definitely think that, there's the classical and quantum computing will exist together versus one replacing the other, but I can't answer your specific technical question.
Okay,
Joe,
can I
can
do
you
a quick?
please repeat just the gist of it very briefly so
okay.
that we can,
Okay.
just shorten it, and we'll
Okay.
think, we will brainstorm together. If not, we'll return to it later.
Okay. Optimizing the integration between classical and quantum at a chip level where it uses memory In other words, you have memory. You don't want to go out and bust things in and things like that. Computation happens in memory. Adding quantum core capability in memory as a processing capability to
We saw
optimize.
Christopher Turk wanted to
Yeah, his mic's
answer.
not working.
His mic is not working?
Yeah.
Too bad. Glitches
Okay.
happen. I will
I
text
see
him.
Deepak has a question.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, and not answer to Joe, but I have my own question. By looking at the title, that AI and quantum, and so we have talked about AI, quantum, but can human win? So the thing that we discuss is more from the data and the regulatory purposes, and then how do we keep it controlled when technology or AI is going so far ahead, right? But still we have not discussed it or maybe mentioned it from more from the technology viewpoint. And in the big AI, we already, and this was mentioned, hallucination and data, other problems are there. So basically they cannot go too far with that. So I'm alluding towards it, that as a reaction to that, even as we say a few weeks back, Google has released paper where contextual AI, conscious AI, or even human-like AI would be the next development. So some of the issues that you were talking about, the data governance or the AI application governance at a really large scale, that will kind of start to dissipate in the next generation of technology development. I just wanted to bring up that point. And what do I mean by that? Because think about the early days of supercomputers, right? They were always only DOE labs and big labs have the computer, right? But then Bill Gates and Steve Jobs came along and then gave you desktop or something computer, and then it became smaller and smaller. Then everything, even the current supercomputers are totally distributed, decentralized. Anyone can put up a machine at their home and do their own stuff. So having
I'm
said
so
that,
sorry to stop, but we have two more open mic hands.
yeah. So,
One is Gennady Bersuker, please.
but let me finish the question. So in a sense that my last thing is that distributed, decentralized AI is coming along, and that could answer some of these things.
Absolutely.
So that I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you so much. It's extremely valuable. And I ask all of you maybe to share the summary of your insights so we can post that on the announcement so that the rest of the audience could actually be on the same page with you. Please do it if you have a moment. And Gennady Verstuker, I think, was trying to raise his hand. Is he with us?
Yes, I'm with you guys. Thank you. So I would like to kind of, I guess, by the end of the meeting, call your attention to the title of our meeting. So can people win this competition with AI? You know, we a little bit put it aside, so I have a comment on that, AI, let's repeat, intelligence. And so what to win, we need to formulate what exactly we are fighting with. And intelligence is a kind of known feature, access to large volume of information as one necessary condition, and ability to meaningfully manipulate with this information. That's what we call intelligence in a regular sense. But it's exactly how large language model platforms operate in AI these days. So they are intelligent in our human understanding of intelligence. However, and I bet people cannot probably win this fight in this form of intelligence. However, fortunately to us, I believe, its intelligence is not the only necessary important feature for our progress, let's put it. There is another critical feature, is creativity. Creativity is not the same as intelligence, although it assumes certain level of intelligence. Creativity is ability to form new features which from existing set of data, but these new features are not cannot be just simply reduced to combination of existing features. Yes, like writing a new, qualitatively new model, novel, or a kind of a creation develop. So it's not a combination of individual pieces in this form. So creativity is what people basically have, although in a much limited level than intelligence. And because people we can be creative on a very small set of data. Even on a small set of data, we create something new. Large set of data, of course, increase our creativity. So in the creativity part, AI is not creative in any human term.
Well, 3 minutes are off. I ask you to please share this in writing. It's very, very interesting. I know that Christopher Turk tried several times. He was muted. Did you unmute him, Tom?
Oh, if I may, just let me make a final statement to finish my thought. So creativity, where we are so far human, it means winning. So all activities that can be reduced to intelligence will be replaced by AI. However, creativity part of that, not yet. It's still under human domain. The question is, can we actually create, let's say, come up with a creative form of AI? And that is actually might be possible. My area is neuromorphic computing, and in that area, there are some interesting ideas how to actually build creative. So, thank you. I'm done.
We will have a special event on neuromorphic computing. I promise you, and we'll have it soon. And to comment on what I just heard from you, I would respectfully disagree that creativity alone can play this pivotal role, because if developers do not create human-centered AI that is actually trained to respect, human commands and actually not take the self-preservation to supreme. Because as of now, we saw the examples of AI being deceptive, actually not caring this much about human life. But once AI has a task to fulfill, particularly when it comes to agentic, AI can take whatever steps to execute the task, and in the process to make its own decisions on how to be more efficient. So it's not emotional, and our feelings and our existence even might not necessarily be on the agenda if developers who are creating AI systems will not engrave it, actually will not become an essential part of the system. I'm not the engineer, but ethically, I believe this is what is missing. There are all kinds of parameters that are driving AI agenda in sense of the race, but not necessarily, it's not human-centric per se, in my humble opinion. But again, we will probably have to have a special event about, to talk more about it. But I don't think anybody knows specific answer right now what humans have to do to survive. Because if this trend to just develop AI at all cost and win the race will continue, humans will not be able to just unplug the AI if we don't like it for later on. This is not my opinion. This is what the likes of Professor Russell, Jeffrey Hinton, this is what the AI fathers have to say, not me per se. But let's.
Yeah, last question for Christopher.
So I was actually hoping to answer Joel's question.
Okay.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, awesome. Joe, can you restate your question? It's been a little bit, so I've forgotten pieces of it.
Okay. The idea is in-memory computing, adding quantum to in-memory computing as more than just optimization, but as a clear front runner in integrating classical and quantum computers. That's the question. Thoughts?
So you want to know how we can potentially leverage quantum computing for memory to kind of create a bridge between classical and, yeah. So are you familiar with von Neumann architecture? Okay.
Yes.
So with von Neumann architecture, we can actually leverage that in quantum to accomplish this. If we can, and this is the way I propose it, if we can have an atomic qubit that performs processing, and then we can leverage a bioqubit to perform RAM, then now we can use quantum to now receive insights from classical and pass it to quantum systems.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wrote a paper on it. Yep. Okay. Good. Thank you.
We have
Pass the
future
test.
Nobel Prize winners. Do we have future Nobel Prize winners among our not just speakers but participants? I won't be surprised.
Okay.
I think we have to wrap up. Did we forget anybody? We had some volunteers for the open mic. Did we forget anybody? Because we have to wrap up. We have space maybe for one more very briefly. If not, I think today we tried to kind of scratch the surface, just the tip of the iceberg. Jeffrey Hinton, who I will not quote precisely, but I heard him say the gist of it is predicting AI future is like driving on a highway looking in the rear window. I mean, rear mirror. Driving on a highway, predicting the future, looking in the rear mirror. And nobody knows. That's the scariest part and maybe the beautiful part. We have so much to learn, but what I was hoping to accomplish with this webinar is to yet again draw attention to our existential threats that exist. And the percentage varies between, say, 1 to 20, or maybe even higher, among the godfathers of AI, among the current AI oligarchs, among the magnificent, I would say 6 maybe. So we really very much like with nuclear weapons. It's we the people who became active and made the politicians to pay attention. They only understand electorate and the messaging, and our votes actually will move their heads. We are the neck. We really have to get engaged and not to stifle innovation, but demand that current research developments are abiding at least some safety rules so that AI could be plugged off if it decides, to that humanity is in its way to execute the test. So we will have, I hope, many more events to address this, but I encourage each and every one not to be on the sidelines. Look into this, be prepared for the Q Day, raise awareness in your organizations, talk to your children. They have to really learn AI and basics of quantum. Bob Kirk is not with us today, but their book, Quantum and Pictures, is a great start for children and, for high schoolers to look into this and learn, because nobody will be immune, and AI and quantum is already touching our lives. We just need to be prepared, and we can't be silent. We really need to engage.
Sarah was holding up the book.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I made several posts, and I love Bob Kirk. He performed for our event in February. He performed quantum music, and he recorded the presentation. We have to have him back. So, in closing, happy holidays, everyone, whatever faith you follow, if it's Christmas or Hanukkah or any other religions, we are united. Today, we had people from 20 countries registered to participate. And this is, in my humble understanding, what unity is. I visited the Abraham Center in Abu Dhabi, where the Christian temple, the synagogue, and the mosque coexist in one compound. And I have never seen anything more beautiful, uniting people and securing peace. So happy holidays, everyone. I love you very much. It was not easy to organize this event. Tom, thank you, and everyone, and of course, Orlagh, and everyone who participated. Happy holidays. Be happy, be safe, and we love you all. Goodbye.